see the government is getting serious about gaming. It's a sunrise sector. If you remember, pre-COVID, the global chief of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, shared a stage with Reliance Industries chairman Mukesh Ambani, and they talked about how gaming in India is the next big thing. It can be bigger than music. It can be bigger than commerce. We're reaching out to not one, but two gamers who were part of that meeting. And you know what's really special? These are two female gamers. Yes, they're slaying it on the side, getting an audience with Rajeev Chandrashekhar. One, in fact, was a lawyer at Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas till she decided that she wants to set up her own practice to talk about gaming and law. That's what she really focuses on. That's Shivani for us on the panel. And Zerah, who is a commentator when it comes to esports. She's been in the business for more than 15 years. Zerah and Shivani, welcome to the show. Shivani, I'll start with you. You gave up a practice at Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas, one of the country's leading law firms, to have this alternative career. You're still a lawyer. You like to focus on all of that. And of course, e-gaming seems to be a passion of yours. So there's two passions that you married together. How was the meeting? You don't have to tell me the details, but how was the meeting? How was the mood with Rajeev Chandrashekhar?
I think it was a very, very intelligible conversation considering the people that we could bring together in the room, because it's very rare to for people who are outside of the public policy system, for example, people who are playing casual gaming or esports or run smaller creative agencies around gaming, to be able to interact with lawyers, interact with people who are in the civil society protecting sexual rights of women, and also like state ministers and bureaucrats. And we're living in a time where law always ends up catching up with technology. So far, if there isn't any interdisciplinary research and discussion, then it becomes difficult to come up with solutions. So I think that's why this meeting sort of felt very, very interactive and solution-based for all of us, because of the different kind of people that were involved in the room.
Zerah, I'm going to come to you now. You've been in esports for more than 15 years. Can I ask you that how did you break the news to your family and friends? Did it just happen? Did you have another career first?
No, I've been like an avid gamer for the last 15 years. I was so passionate about it that I ended up making a career in it. I have worked professionally in the field for the last 9 years over multiple kinds of roles, from being an influencer to joining one of the biggest companies in the country, not just gaming. I was the head of talent over there. And I've really seen how the growth career of esports has been from the past 8 years to all the way now, In the last 3 years, of course, we've seen a boom in the industry. It's really made a lot of noise, especially in the mainstream media. So that's really good to see. And now the fact that the ministry is getting involved and we're going to have very good rules and regulations come into the industry, I think that is going to really be the stepping stone to create a more structured ecosystem. And that is what is a requirement, because we have so many different kinds of gamers out there whose needs are not heard. Somewhere I do feel with these rules coming in, we'll be able to also understand how to take this whole ecosystem forward and create an industry that's also a safe and secure place for gamers.
Shivani, now coming to you, there's a lot of reasons why gaming is perhaps not making the right headlines. You've got the addiction problem. You have China, which says, it's like spiritual opium. Back in India, you're also seeing, states which seem to have a very negative view when it comes to online gaming. You've had a bunch of states that banned it. It went to courts, is particularly in southern India. There seems to be an image problem when it comes to online gaming, whether it's a game of risk or whether it's a game of skill. Is that also what was, part of the discussions yesterday?
Yeah. So I think I'll take you back a little bit. It's an image and ideology problem. Gaming currently is a state subject, and it exists as an exception to gambling and not as an entity or activity to practice on its own. And what happens is that when a state decides to ban online gaming, and especially in the last 1 year, we've noticed that when they've banned even skill-based gaming, they've criminalized people who play those games. And so gamers can actually go behind the bars for up to 3 months, irrespective of whether they're playing chess online or playing a pay-to-play, a complicated game like FIFA. So the image perception also comes from this ideology of state-wise ban and then reversal, because of course these have never lasted the test of legality in courts. So every time there is a ban, of course that's reversed, but then it ends up leaving the image of addiction in the form of ideology, even in a more sour way amongst people. And that's what exactly we're trying to change here. We saw in the room that there was a 55-year-old woman who's saying that I casually play games all day. And then we have someone like Zerah who's playing professionally. So the spectrum is huge, right? I mean, every third person in India at some point or the other is playing an online game, with or without money. And we have reached a point where there's something has to be done to protect their rights as a special class.
Fair point. And Zerah, e-gaming for you, esports, it's not a side hustle. It's your main gig. So when you get an audience with the Minister of State, right, Mr. Rajeev Chandrashekhar, and the fact that you're a female gamer as well, what kind of rights do you want? What kind of rights does the community want? Let me put it this way. Not you personally, I'm asking you on behalf of the gaming industry.
I think there are a lot of different things, right? I mean, you can keep women on one side and you can keep men on the other, but at the end of the day you have to realize that it is a virtual space. You don't know who the other person is across the screen, so and you don't know how they could misuse your thoughts to kind of create an atmosphere that's not comfortable for you. So in that case, I would say the first thing that I truly felt that gamers required is a very good space for safe play. And when I say that, I technically mean anybody who is getting ill-treated online, they are getting bullied online, there is a sexual harassment case out there, people are getting abused, there should be some kind of censorship when it comes to even games being released. Any game that's released in the country should have a censorship board, just like films, where everybody sits down, they kind of see, are these words getting completely removed as soon as they appear on the screen? Is this place really child friendly? If somebody is getting abused on a call, what are the other outcomes? Can they report the player? Can they ban? Can they have a grievance put out there to make sure that the government is hearing us and knows that this is not the right place or atmosphere for a young gamer? There should also be rules instated, I think, to make sure that if a gamer is really young and there is not much awareness around him when it comes to his family as such about knowing about gaming, how are we as a community kind of figuring out to create this awareness of, even if it's the fact that esports is treated with this taboo, like Shivani said, that it's addictive, how are we kind of moving across that taboo and solving the problem, right? So these are a few things I feel that's very important: a safe environment, censorship control, awareness for gamers around the country, and even content monitoring. If you go today online and you see the content that young gamers are watching, there should be a way for us to make sure that that content is good enough for young gamers. They are not wrongly influenced by the content they're watching. And I think these 4 simple things could really make the ecosystem a much better place.
I'm not saying it just because, there are 3 of us women who are having this conversation. But the fact is, and when there is this fear, and I'm not a parent, but I do hear my friends and other family members talking about it, this concern, and the point that Zerah was making, is this game safe for my child? Is this game safe for my child, whether they're aged 9 years old or 15 years old? And maybe some moms will even object it when their kids are, 21, 25. But having said that, Tanvi, since you're also the lawyer here, is it time that, like in movies, video games must also have some kind of age certification?
See, when a publisher is releasing a game, there are times that they do have age certification. But then it becomes sort of a self-controlled environment in terms of when I go and buy that game or when I'm playing that game, do I have any kind of parental control on me that restricts me? Having said that, a lot of games do not have those age restrictions. Yes, I agree. But because the nature of those games are such that can be played across age groups, across platforms, and it won't even matter what part of the country you're in. And that is when it becomes the responsibility of, let's say, the government to come up with some standard rules that all gaming companies have to follow across platforms and across the nature of the game that they're providing. That these things like sexual harassment or data privacy or anti-cheating bots don't come in way of safe play and don't come in way of somebody's profession and livelihood.
Fair point. Now, Zerah, we're running out of time, and I will never ask anyone their age, their weight, their bank balance, even their religion. I will not ask that. But what I will ask you is, you are followed. I've seen your following on Instagram and all as well. When you choose esports, online gaming as a career, what kind of income levels are we talking about? I'm not asking for yours, but those that may want to take it up professionally, want to move from a side hustle to a main hustle, or want it as a side hustle. What kind of a side income or main income are we talking about?
To kind of put it in perspective, right? If you're looking at the esports player who makes money, it completely depends on the kind of skill level he has in the game, right? It comes to demand to supply kind of ratio. If he's a really good player, there is no stated income that he can make. It completely depends on how much a team or an organization wants that player and what is the bid on that particular player. But say someone new who's entering the industry, he's just got into an org, he could range anywhere between 20 to 40,000. I would say that would be an approximate range to put it under. And as and when, he grows, he nurtures that experience, he learns from the org, he wins a lot of tournaments, then of course, that amount can always be multiplied. It's similar for even shoutcasters, for graphic designers. It's all in that same income group when you're starting out. And then it's just plain experience. The more experience you have, the more you bring to the table, the better you can do that number. I do want to bring it to focus right now that I'm not sure as of now if we have a proper rate card created for particular job roles in the industry, but that is also something that definitely we should work on so everybody has a fair trade of income.
Tanvi, my final comment, I'll come to you. So yesterday, after you exited this meeting, and once again, I'm not asking you to break privilege, but when you exited, Shivani, I beg your pardon, sorry, Shivani, when I asked, I'm not asking you to break privilege, but when you exited the meeting, what's the sense that you got? Because, like I said, we hear it from the states that seem to be anti-e-gaming. We've got cases on in the Supreme Court as well. There's a GST Council which may want to introduce a 28% GST on subscription as well as the winning pot. Or is it that the Union Ministry of Information Technology and Electronics is seeing gaming very, very differently and in a very positive light?
See, I'm not going to deny the fact that, of course, there are concerns around addiction and protecting children. But at the same time, we also saw a little bit of lack of awareness around gaming. So, for example, there was a lawyer in the room who during COVID couldn't appear in courts and was making a lot of money through online pay-to-play games. The range and skill of gamers hasn't been rightly introduced to people. The problems that gamers face hasn't been introduced to people. The fact that someone who's playing a pay-to-play game can go behind bars hasn't been introduced as a concept because we have been focusing a lot on the industry and regulating the industry because it's a sin product. We haven't really come to the other side of the spectrum where when there are 500 million players in the country, of which 140 are professionally esports players, then their voice also now needs to be heard in the form of a very, very serious profession and livelihood, and not just an addiction that we've painted the picture around.
Okay, ladies, that's all the time we have for today. I tell you what, the next time you guys are at an esports event, please invite us at ET Now. Maybe we can film it and show our viewers as well about how this works. We only read about it, and now that there are no COVID restrictions, let's show our viewers as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.